Hello everyone, I am Father Jonathan Emery, and this is Socially Sourced, a video series on the social teaching of the Catholic Church. This is the last episode, episode 10, the political community. God has dominion over all, so all authority, including political authority, stems from Him. Originally, the Israelites recognized God as their king, but then they wanted a new king from the people. God anoints Saul and then David, establishing the dynasty of David until the Anointed One, who we call Christ, is enthroned in heaven as King of heaven and earth. The Old Testament describes the king as the defender of the weak and the guarantor of justice for the poor. As Jesus comes to his throne, he refuses the oppressive and despotic nature of the rulers of nations and chooses to reclaim the kingship as it was intended. Jesus condemns every attempt at making political power an idol for human hearts, or absolute in its power. For only God can demand everything from humanity. The human person is the foundation and purpose of political life. Politics makes no sense if it isn't seen in light of the human person and oriented towards human dignity and the common good. In this, it is important to acknowledge that the human person is naturally a social and political being. Humans can only reach true fulfillment of self through relationship with God and others. Learning to love God and love our neighbor as ourselves are God's two primary instructions to us in this life. And love can only exist within society, with politics being the natural structuring of that society. This means that the social and political elements of life are not added on as something extra we can do, but are actually a central part of human existence. The Church teaches that society has two ways it can operate. The sphere of rights is that of safeguarded interests, external respect for one another, the protection of material goods and their distribution according to established rules. This first way is more self-centered because it is entirely focused on protection, usually of ourselves. The other way a society can operate is under the sphere of friendship, which is marked by putting others first, detachment from material goods, giving freely, and inner acceptance of the needs of others. The Church calls this second sphere civil friendship, and laments the fact that it has largely been unrealized in the modern political society. The two biggest factors preventing the realization of this civil friendship are individualism, which focuses on the individual to the detriment of the group, and actually collectivism, which focuses on the group to the detriment of the individual. The balance of love in a society of civil friendship allows for the focus to shift dynamically to where it is needed, whether the individual or the group. Even with civil friendship, orienting the individuals of a society towards a loving gift of self to their neighbors, the society will still need a political authority to maintain organization and to ensure the responsibilities that are assigned to it by the society. Political authority must guarantee an ordered and upright community life without usurping the free activities of individuals and groups, but disciplining and orienting this freedom by respecting and defending the independence of the individual and social subjects for the attainment of the common good. This authority is not based in power, nor is it completely based in the consent of the people governed. Rather, it must be aligned with moral law, for all authority has God for its first source and final end. This means that citizens have a duty to follow mandates of the political authority, but that duty ends when the conscience of that individual informs them that the authority's mandate is against either moral law or the teachings of the Church. In these cases, the Church states that citizens have a right and duty to resist political authority. If resistance is necessary, passive resistance to authority is the preferable method. Armed resistance is to be avoided in all but the most extreme and desperate cases. The Church has put 5 conditions on the use of armed resistance. First, that there is certain grave and prolonged violation of fundamental rights. Second, all other means of redress have been exhausted. Third, such resistance will not provoke worse disorders. Fourth, there is well-founded hope of success. And fifth, it is impossible to reasonably foresee any better solution. Even with all these conditions met, armed resistance, or rebellion, should always be undertaken after a lot of prayerful consideration. Armed resistance almost always ends up spinning out of control and leading to similar or even worse abuses against human nature. While there are a few more topics in the Church's social teaching, most of them are extrapolations of the basics that have already been covered into areas like the international community, safeguarding the environment, the role of the Church, and others. However, for that level of depth, you will have to read the compendium of the social doctrine of the Church for yourself. Thank you for hanging in here for the entire series. I hope you found it useful. I will be doing another short series on the new encyclical Fratelli Tutti by Pope Francis during the 4 weeks of Advent. Until then, God bless.